Hi. Welcome. Yeah, turn off your cell phones. And do I have a cell phone? I don't have a cell phone, so I don't have to do that. Yeah, welcome. We're here. This is Interfaith Community Sanctuary. I'm looking around the room, and I think you all know that. And this is the first Sunday of the month, which is our Honoring the Guest Sunday, which is really the oldest tradition of this congregation, in a sense, is because it existed before this congregation really existed as a named entity. So we've been doing this for as long as we've been doing anything. And in the early years, you know, we would always seek out people from beyond our community to come share their practices and teachings with us. In the last few years, we've become a lot more open to looking within our community because we have amazing resources within our community. And we started to really try to develop that and explore the diversity of practice and opinion within our own community. So that's what we're doing today. And we are in the middle of a year of looking at how do we encounter the divine feminine? What is the actual meeting place in our lives of the Divine Mother, the goddess, whatever you want to call. Well, it's a big thing. It's a big subject. It's hard to define, and that's why we're doing it all year long. This month, we are working on, and this is the first Sunday, so it's our first dive into this. We are working into encountering the Divine Mother as wisdom, as Sophia. And yeah, so we have a guest today. We'll tell you more about him later. Although if you're in the room, you've seen him before. So let's ground this practice with our traditional sequence of ritual. And you're starting this. I'm going to give you a chair. Oh, do we? Okay. We have inspired piano music by our friend Steve Crawford, who needs no introduction.
Well, Karen asked me to say just a couple of words about myself. So I've been a long-time member here of the community, and we're investigating the divine feminine. And my piano music comes directly from my mom, Marjorie Crawford. And she got me playing piano in the second grade. And I know it wasn't my idea, so thanks, Mom. And I've been playing piano for over 60 years. And the trick in playing an instrument is to continue to move forward into learning how to play, you know, the essence of your spirit with the instrument. So that's what I've been working on. I have made progress. So today, this is the welcome part, so I just decided I'll try to play something that I feel embodies welcoming.
Christine. That was beautiful. So well, thank you, but we're going to stand up now. What we're going to do now is do part of our opening rituals, which includes calling in the ancestors. And we're going to do this in an embodied way, so I invite you all to stand with me. And we ground ourselves with the earth, and we connect ourselves with our own heart. And let's connect with the hearts of everyone in our circle, those who are in the room, and those who are invisible to us or are distant. And we want to do is allow our heart to open like a flower, and we lift our right hand up to the heavens. And we receive all of those who've come before us. And we drop our left hand and we unite with all of those who will come after us. And we say, welcome. 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 Thank you. Please be seated. We also want to acknowledge our first peoples, whose land that we live, work, and love upon, those who welcomed us despite our many years of inequity. And now we're beginning to understand how we must learn from the first peoples of this property, of this land, of this area. And we benefit in learning about the first peoples. Here there are many tribes. We learn through our member here, Laurel Boucher Siswinclay, who teaches us the Sisiwis tradition, the spiritual tradition of the Coast Salish peoples. And so let's just spend a moment receiving that teachings, that love, that welcoming, and see if we can reciprocate. And as we honor our first peoples, we follow their lead and welcome all who are in need in the world, many who are displaced from their homes and are seeking new places of residence. May everyone find their home. May everyone find their welcoming community. And may we develop the capacity to be hospitable to all peoples. Oh, thank you. I also was thinking today that rather than a prayer for the Divine Feminine, I would share with you some Divine Feminine wisdom from a modern day journalist, because this is the month we're beginning to look at wisdom, meeting the Divine Mother as wisdom. So I have two short paragraphs from Arundhati Roy, who is quite an advocate for equality and for women. And this is what she has written. Our strategy should be not only to confront empire, but to lay siege upon it, to deprive it of oxygen, to shame it, to mock it. With our art, our music, our literature, our stubbornness and joy, our brilliance, our sheer relentlessness, and our ability to tell our own stories. Stories that are different from the ones we were being brainwashed to believe. And another reading. To love, to be loved, to never forget your own insignificance, to never get used to the unspeakable violence and the vulgar disparity of life around you, to seek joy in the saddest places, to pursue beauty, to respect strength, to never simplify what is complicated or complicate what is simple. Above all, to watch, to understand, to never look away, and never, never to forget. And I also brought for us today a prayer for animals, because this is the day that's near St. Francis's day, feast day, I guess, but what we do often in the world, and we have attempted in our community to do this as well, is a prayer for the animals. And we want to always keep in mind all of the creatures of the world that live with us, that love us, that we protect. And we honor through this prayer. This is not a St. Francis prayer. This is an Albert Schweitzer prayer, but I read it on this day as we honor St. Francis. A prayer for animals. Hear our humble prayer, O God, for our friends, the animals, especially for animals who are suffering, for any that are hunted, or lost, or deserted, or frightened, or hungry, for all that must be put to death. We entreat thee for them all, by mercy and pity, and for those who deal with them, as we ask a heart of compassion and gentle hands and kindly words. Make us ourselves to be true friends to animals, and so to share the blessings of the merciful. Amen. And we have more inspired piano music.
So now I get to introduce our guest for today, George Ramirez. George is a very appreciated member of our community for his perceptive wisdom, his practicality, and his generous intention. He is he appeared on this planet some time ago and traveled around and did things, and we're very happy that he ended up on our doorstep. We were very happy to take him in, and it sounds like you were an orphan. And he is a pillar of our community. He is a living embodiment of the truth that one becomes a pillar of any community by seeing what needs to be done and doing it. And we're very appreciative, and we've had him as a guest before, and we're very happy to continue that process.
Thank you, Michael. So as a wastrel invited here, Reverend Karen has asked me to speak today about Sophia. As Michael mentioned, we're in that part of the sermon for the year when we speak of the divine feminine. We've spoken in many ways, but now we're speaking of Sophia as divine wisdom. Sophia is basically a translation of the Greek word wisdom. We also get our word philosophy from there. Philo meaning love, and Sophi meaning wisdom, the love of wisdom. But I'm not going to be speaking today philosophically, I hope. But I will be speaking of the love of wisdom. So to begin with, I want to read from the few selections from Proverbs that may help us to begin to get to know who this divine wisdom of Sophia is. Does not wisdom cry out, and understanding lift up her voice? She takes her stand on the top of the high hill, beside the way where the paths meet. She cries out by the gates, at the entry to the city, at the entrance of all the doors. To you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. O you simple ones, understand prudence, and you fools, be of an understanding heart. Listen, for I will speak of excellent things, and from the opening of my lips will come the right things. For my mouth will speak the truth. Wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are with righteousness. Nothing crooked or perverse is in them. They are all plain to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Receive my instruction. And not a sliver, and not a sliver. And we acknowledge, rather, the choice of gold. For wisdom is better than rubies. And all the things one may desire cannot be compared with her. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and I find out knowledge and discretion. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. I love those who love me. And those who seek me diligently will find me. Riches and honor are one with me. Enduring riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, yes, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. I traverse the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of justice, that I may cause those who love me to inherit wealth, that I may fill their treasures. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I have been established from the everlasting, from the beginning, before there was an earth. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills, I was brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth or the fields or the primal dust of this world, when he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he assigned to the sea its limit, so that the waters would not transgress his command. He marked out the foundations of earth. Then I was beside him as a master craftsman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in his inhabited world. And my delight was with the sons of men. Now, therefore, listen to me, my children, for blessed are those who keep my ways. Hear instruction, and be wise, and do not disdain it. Blessed is the man who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the posts of my doors. For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. So I'm really going to be speaking today mainly from my own experience with the help of some lovely voices that I've chosen to include. But most of my look at wisdom today is going to be solely from an Abrahamic standpoint. For one, given the allotted time, it would get unwieldy to begin to speak of the divine wisdom from the perspective of other traditions. And also, quite frankly, it appears to me that we in the West today seem to be in far more need of rediscovering the divine feminine than those who follow Eastern or native traditions. In reading from Proverbs, we hear Sophia, or wisdom, as both the transcendent and the practical form of the divine wisdom, of the divine feminine, of divinity itself. Sophia is a divine feminine complement of the created power of the divine masculine. I see Sophia not as a messenger, a mediator, a helper or a handmaid. She is the leaven, the pervasive influence that permeates all creation, and provides life's creative impetus and completion. This view may be at variance with some other views that we see of her as allegorical or as a subsidiary figure to that of the divine masculine. To me, there are not two entities at work here. We have only divine wisdom creator. The God of creation, then, is consistent in my worldview. Not a him, her, or an I-thou relationship, but a oneness, a unity. Sophia, again, the divine aspect of God, provides the wisdom to complement the power of the masculine aspect of God. Thomas Merton tells us, all the perfection of created things are also in God, and therefore he is at once Father and Mother. As Father, he stands in solitary might, surrounded by darkness. As Mother, his shining is diffused, embracing all his creatures with merciful tenderness and light. The diffuse shining of God is Hagia Sophia. In Sophia, his power is experienced only as mercy and as love. Sophia is the mercy of God in us. She is in us the yielding and tender counterpart of the power, justice, and creative dynamism of the Father. And for me, that unity is not just some semantic posturing. An understanding of the universe, the cosmos, as unity, as non-dual oneness, is fundamental for my healing of the psychic wounds that centuries of paternalistic and I-thou dualistic thinking have caused. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus said to them, when you make the two one, and when you make the inside like the outside, and the above like the below, and when you make the male and the female one, so that the male be not male, and the female, female, then you will enter the kingdom. My own awakening experience has led me to understand that there is only ever one thing present, and that is God, the universe, knowing itself. And as a consequence of that, I've also come to see, and more importantly, feel that we are all, every one of us, one being. Unity, not only in the Godhead, but in all of its manifestation. Creation as modulations of the one divinity. However, in the diffused light of day, I live my life dualistically. I live as a knowing actor in the improvisational theater of life. My role then is to say yes to life and to make my fellow travelers as successful and as happy as I am capable. This world is for me then, as I believe it is for every one of us, a world of relationships. Carl McCullman, in an interview with Mirabai Starr, says, ultimate reality, of course, transcends all gender. And yet here, in the land of forms, we are dependent upon symbols to connect us with that which lies beyond all description. Religious metaphors are fingers pointing at the moon, to use the beautiful Buddhist image. The point is to look up. And so I have found that relating to the divine as feminine grants me access to a quality of holiness that shows me how to live in this world in a more sacred manner. Whether you buy all of that or not, we can probably still all agree that this is a world of relationships. Our relationships with ourselves, our Creator, our relationship with those who are near and dear to us, our relationship with everyone and everything in and on the earth. We have to relate with people. When Jesus was asked, which are the most important commands to follow, he answered, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. When he is speaking of our neighbors, I hold that Jesus did not mean to treat my neighbor like I would want myself treated, as implied in the Golden Rule. I'm convinced that what Jesus meant was for me to treat my neighbor as if he were me, as myself, since essentially, as he knew well, we are. Jean-Paul Sartre famously said in his play, No Exit, hell is other people. I couldn't disagree more. Hell is not other people. For me, hell begins when I start seeing people as other. So in this world of relationships, how do I learn to treat my neighbor lovingly? How do I treat my neighbor as myself? If I look around, I see that our political world has become a lot like trench warfare. People on opposing sides are digging in deeper and deeper, maintaining their positions, looking only to their side and to like minds for their answers. People in the media, on the streets, are constantly telling me what I should and shouldn't do. Some of it is good advice. Some not so good. Some mean-spirited and outright harmful to others and to all of us. Meanwhile, the distance between people is growing. So how do I decide what the right thing is to do? How and where do I go to get the answers I need? Meister Eckhart tells us, when wisdom is joined to the soul, all doubt, error, and darkness fly away, and the soul is set in a pure, clear light, which is God himself. How then is this wisdom joined to the soul? How do I access wisdom? How do I reach the cosmic wisdom of Sophia and know the next right thing to do? It may well be that the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls. But the eternal word, the wisdom of Sophia, is not. The prophets have their wisdom. We can find our wisdom by being quiet, by being still, and listening. In short, meditating or silent prayer. Mahatma Gandhi reminds us that silent prayer is not a monologue. God speaks to us only when we are silently ready to listen to him. Believe me, when we rid our minds of all conscious thought, when we allow it to be flooded with the spirit of the invisible God, it brings us unspeakable rest and peace. It unites our deepest self with that eternal. When we rid our minds of all conscious thought. That is a good enough definition for meditation. So whether we speak of silent prayer or of meditation, we are essentially speaking of the same thing. The Dalai Lama speaks of prayer or meditation as a type of spirituality that, quote, addresses spontaneously in the human heart as an expression of love for our neighbors and a desire to do them good. A desire to do them good. That is precisely what I am looking for. Who among you is wise and understanding? We are asked in the Epistle of James. Let him show by his good behavior, his deeds, and the gentleness of wisdom. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not be arrogant and so lie against the truth. This kind of wisdom is not that which comes down from above, but is earthly, natural, demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exists, there is disorder and evil. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, reasonable, full of mercy and good fruits. Righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. Again, Meister Eckhart implores us in one of my favorite benedictions at the end of one of his sermons, may we follow peace and inward silence, that the eternal word may be spoken in us and understood. Eckhart speaks here of the eternal wisdom, speaks of the eternal word as divine wisdom. We too can take time away from those around us, from our busy lives, to pray in stillness and in silence, and listen for our words of wisdom, to listen for Sophia. That silent word, that wisdom, Sophia, is available to us. We only need to be still and silent long enough to hear it. There is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen, says Rumi. The wisdom of Solomon tells us, wisdom is the radiant and unfading, and she is easily discerned by those who love her, and is found by those who seek her. She hastens to make herself known to those who desire her. He who rises early to seek her will have no difficulty, for he will find her sitting at his gates. To fix one's thought on her is perfect understanding, and he who is vigilant on her account will soon be free from care, because she goes about seeking those worthy of her, and she graciously appears to them in their paths and meets them in every thought. Sophia's wisdom may not be obvious, as we heard a word ago, but she is found by those who seek her. We can invoke Sophia's pure presence through silent prayer or through meditation to call in the extraordinary qualities of cosmic wisdom into our own being. There is oxygen up in the atmosphere as well as in our lungs. So too, wisdom can be found in the cosmos and felt in our hearts as well. Whether love be from this earthly side or from that heavenly side, in the end, it leads us at yonder, says Rumi. Eckhart says, the word lies hidden in the soul, so that man neither knows her or hears it, unless good tidings reach the center of hearing. Otherwise, it will not be heard. To hear, all voices and sound must die away, and there must be pure quiet, perfect stillness. For those who have already found their means of access to Sophia's divine wisdom, whether it's meditation, prayer, or some other practice, that is indeed lovely, and the world is the better for it. I'm speaking here now more to those who have not, those who continue to suffer and to cause their neighbors to suffer as a result. Silence meditation gets us to know our own minds, to discover the word that is divine wisdom for ourselves, and to use that wisdom to direct our lives. You need to be humble enough not to fear what your guidance will be, and brave enough to say yes, says Carolyn Miss. In a bit, I'm going to shut up. Don't be so thrilled. I'm going to shut up and I invite you to sit with me for a few minutes in silent meditation. So it's not the meditation of mantras or object meditation that many may be familiar with. There's plenty of room for that in another discussion. I'm suggesting a meditation perhaps less familiar to some, an object-less meditation, one of stillness, a meditation of silence. Call it vipassana, insight meditation, whatever word works, as long as it allows us to see things as they really are. Meister Eckhart says, there is a huge silence inside each of us that beckons us into itself. And the recovery of our own silence can begin to teach us the language of heaven. People have told me how difficult it is for them to sit still and do nothing. And as a result, they don't do it. They may try a couple of times and give up. Yet it seems to me that most of us practice the essentials of silent meditation happily and usually successfully every time we go to the cinema. We take our seats, sit back, and in silence and relative stillness, we simply relax and passively watch, quietly aware of whatever is displayed in front of us. That is essentially all we need to do in silent prayer or meditation. It may sound like an oversimplification. I'm not sure, but I have found that watching my thoughts as a third person to be an effective way to slow or to stop active thinking and allow me to listen for the word, for the wisdom of Sophia. So join me, if you will, and let's take a couple of minutes and sit quietly, in silence, in the private cinema of our own minds. Relax. We have a free ticket. Let's close our eyes. The theater darkens. We simply watch what is revealed around us. Thoughts, feelings, odors, an itch, whatever. We are simply aware of being aware. Whatever is displayed will come and go in an apparent continual stream. We don't become too interested in any one particular object. We don't try to redirect. We watch what is displayed without judgment. Later, we can write a review or be a critic if we choose. But for now, we simply relax and enjoy the show. There is nothing we have to do. In truth, there is nothing to do. Just be. We simply rest for a while in what is our natural state as the knowing presence in the field of infinite awareness. If, or rather when, we find ourselves pondering, judging, describing, labeling, getting too interested in any one particular thing, we simply exhale, return to our theater seat, and resume watching the ever-changing display. I'll be quiet now, and we can each enjoy our own show for a few minutes. Thank you all. Thank you for joining me in that. So this was just a brief, very brief exercise. And while I might have introduced it a bit lightheartedly, I certainly don't mean to trivialize meditation. Believe me, meditation is something that is essential to me, essential to my well-being. And I do take meditation seriously, but I try not to take myself too seriously. It's just that I'm often frustrated when I see meditation presented in such a sacrosanct manner and so rigidly that only the most committed will try it, and only the most dedicated of them will continue with it. And so I think I see people missing a tremendous opportunity to end their own suffering. And it hurts to watch sometimes. Because meditation, silent prayer works. It allows us to release, at least for a while, the tutor of our conditional mind, and allows us to listen for and listen to the eternal word, to Sophia, to the wisdom we need to treat our fellow neighbors as they should be treated. insights, Sophia's wisdom may or may not well up during our silent meditations. Insights are just like the myriad of other thoughts which we watch come in our meditation. The difference is that these particular thoughts that we call insights seem to have an unusual clarity about them, a luminosity. But these insights that arise often bring the right or the best answer to issues we are struggling with. I love this quote by Albert Einstein. I think 99 times and find nothing. I stop thinking, swim in the silence, and the truth comes to me. It may be the answer to some nagging problem. It may be a trivial, trifling thing. I haven't spoken to my sister in a while. But even that helps us, as Mother Teresa advises, to do small things lovingly. But whether any significant insight arose during our meditation is not the issue. Intentionality is. Committing ourselves to taking the time to be still, to listen, to open ourselves to Sophia's wisdom. Thomas Merton again. The true contemplative is not one who prepares his mind for a particular message that he wants or expects to hear, but is one who remains empty because he knows that he can never expect to anticipate the words that will transform his darkness into light. He does not even anticipate a special kind of transformation. He does not demand light instead of darkness. He waits on the word of God in silence. And when he is answered, it is not so much by a word that bursts into his silence. It is by his silence itself, suddenly, inexplicably, revealing itself to him as a word of great power, full of the voice of God. I try hard to maintain inward silence when listening, truly listening to my brothers and sisters, my neighbors, without judging or thinking about what I'm going to say next. It's not easy, and I often fail. But it becomes easier with practice. Merton again. Solitude and silence teach me to love my brothers and sisters for what they are, not for what they say. When faced with a difficulty or a conflicting decision, rather than selecting from the externally available conventional wisdom, we can pause and look within. Wisdom consists in doing the next thing you have to do, doing it with your whole heart, and finding the light in doing it, says Meister Eckhart. This looking within for answers can, with practice, become a natural and comfortable go-to process. Blessed is the man who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, Sophia told us. Watching daily at my gates. Sophia is beseeching us to listen, encouraging us to form a regular practice, a daily practice. Sitting in silence each day helps many practitioners to maintain an ongoing connection with Sophia's wisdom. For those who are new, starting with 10 minutes a day or so is often recommended. If you find 10 minutes uncomfortable, then perhaps, as was suggested to me, you might try 20 minutes a day. It's a joke. Joseph Campbell. You must have a room, a certain hour of the day, where you don't know what was in the newspaper that morning. You don't know who your friends are. You don't know what you owe anybody. you don't know what anybody owes you. This is simply a place where you can experience and bring forth what you are and what you might be. This is a place of creative incubation. At first, you may find that nothing happens here. But if you have a sacred place and use it, something eventually will happen. Saint Isaac the Syrian. Love silence above all things, because it brings you near to fruit the tongue cannot express. First, let us force ourselves to be silent, and then from out of this silence, something is born that leads us into silence itself. If you begin with this discipline, I know how much light will dawn on you from it. But please, let's remember that initially, meditation may require some discipline. But meditation, above all things, should be enjoyable, something we look forward to, not a task to be endured. We certainly don't want to see anyone become bored with peace. In time, once our minds have become comfortable with stillness and our connection with Sophia's divine wisdom strengthens, we can begin, through self-inquiry, to explore the nature of that mind. We can not only find that divine wisdom, we can find we are that divine wisdom. But perhaps that's a topic for a different time. Rumi tells us, look carefully around you and recognize the luminosity of souls. Sit beside those who draw you to that. So this brings us to another opportunity. Some of us may find it easier to maintain a regular meditation practice if we meditate with spiritual companions in a group. Thich Nhat Hanh says, the most precious gift we can offer others is our presence. I know I cannot underestimate the value of spiritual companions in my life. A circle of spiritual companions can support us with deep, non-judgmental listening, compassion, and can accompany us on our spiritual journeys. Rachel Naomi Raymond says, perhaps the most important thing we bring to another person is the silence in us. Not the sort of silence that is filled with unspoken criticism or hard withdrawal. The sort of silence is a place of refuge, of rest, of acceptance of someone as they are. We are all hungry for this other silence. It is hard to find. It is in its presence we can remember something beyond the moment, a strength on which to build a life. Silence is a place of great power and healing. In the Quran, Surah 103 says, man is in loss, except such as have faith and do righteous deeds and join together in the mutual teaching of truth and of patience and constancy. I participate in several meditation groups each week, including one here, right in this beautiful sanctuary. We sit in a circle just like we are this morning, and we sit together in silence for a half hour, right here, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Someone from our Thursday night sit told me recently that as a result of our sitting once a week together, that now, when on her own during times of quiet, she finds there are times in her day when that silence just naturally, spontaneously occurs. And she finds peace there. I find that so beautiful. The simple sitting in silence we just looked at together is one way to maintain a connection with divine wisdom of Sophia. If that works for you, terrific. If not, I pray you find one that does. I think we all owe it to ourselves and to our neighbors to learn ways to help each other lovingly. May we each find our own way to the light of Sophia's wisdom. And I'll now finish with this poem from Rumi. The lamps are different, but the light is the same. So many garish lamps in the dying brain's lamp show. Forget about them. Concentrate on the essence. Concentrate on the light. In lucid bliss, calmly smoking off in its own holy fire. The light streams toward you from all things, all people, all possible permutations of good, evil, thought, passion. The lamps are different, but the light is the same. One matter, one energy, one light mind, endlessly emanating all things. One turning and burning diamond. One. Ground yourself. Strip yourself down to blind, loving silence. Stay there until you see you are gazing at the light with its own ageless eyes. Sophia, divine wisdom, accessible to all who listen for her. Thank you for sharing this time with me.
I'd just like to thank George for that message, and to kind of play off that. You know, this instrument was built by human beings many years ago, and they used their hands and machines to make this music. The instrument was designed to make tones that human beings find beautiful. And you'll notice the instrument is very quiet until a human being sits down to play it. So it was made for us, and in my opinion, they were very successful. So I invite you to listen without listening. Just let the tones be their own healing energy.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And thank you, George, for a lovely message or reflection today. And Steve, thank you so much for your inspired piano music and for sharing us your origins to this practice that you've very much deepened and blessed the world. Yeah, we thank her too. So there's two additional things I'd like for us to share. And one is called Sharing Our Wealth, and the other is Sharing Our Hearts. And for Sharing Our Wealth, I'll mention to those online that our address should be there and a link. Please visit the website and to offer donations. If you can, we are an all-volunteer organization, and we have responsibilities for this historic building that needs ongoing maintenance. And recently, we've had flooding in our basement that we're spending many years repairing. And so we're grateful for all donations, any amount that you can give. We're also very interested in having volunteers. And we try to offer wonderful programs here. And in fact, I'm going to ask Gretchen if you would be so kind to share with us about the Sisiwas Medicine Circle that will be happening today and in the future as well, and about Peace Camp International, if you would. Yeah, you could sit here or wait. Sorry, I didn't plan.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I wanted to let everyone know that Siswin Clay, who is our First People's spiritual guide at Interfaith Community Sanctuary, and she's been doing women's Sisiwas healing circles for like over 20 years, right? Yeah, so for the past 8 years, she has come to Peace Camp International and taught us languages, healing ways, and shared with kids stories. And so this past summer, I asked if she would be willing to do something once a month for kids and families. So today at 4 o'clock, from 4 to 5:30, is our first Sisiwas Circle with Siswin Clay for youth and family, everybody. But we're really hoping, in addition to us, older people, that youth and family will come. Like I said, it was inspired by Peace Camp. We're hoping that the 4 o'clock time will work for families. So if any of you here know families, and any of you out there in virtual land know families, please help us get the word out. It's a beautiful, I told Siswin Clay and anybody else who I've talked about this, I only do organize things that I want to do because that way I know it will bring life to me. And if no one comes, then I'll have life. So that's how much I believe and get from Siswin Clay's teachings. And they're so, I really feel, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on for just one more minute. I just really, really noticed at Peace Camp, the kids seem so centered from what Siswin Clay offered us. The spiritual practices, the teaching, the sacred ways, and a lot of our kids who come to Peace Camp, and I think a lot of kids in Seattle, their sacred place might be the classroom and the sports field. So this gives them an opportunity to know and experience, and like George was saying, be in community with silence and stories and language that come from the people who their life was sacred on this land, and how healing is that, I feel like, for our city. So thank you. That was probably more than what you wanted, but yes. No, it's ongoing. Today's the first day.
And we'll work out the future schedule once everyone gathers and we make decisions. So I'd like us now to do a little closing, and we'll leave the live stream and we can be together following that. So let's stand and release our ancestors. Of course, working with our ancestors, they're always available to us whenever we like. But today we invited them in, and we'll release them. The same way we brought them in, we will send them off. And those who came before us, and those who will follow after us. And we just say, "Aho." The other thing we can say is ashk, which is love. Ashk. We release them with love. Thank you. So we have this